Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crickets to Cha-Chings. I'm Julie Berninger from Gold City Ventures, and we're here with Lisa, a seller in our community. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi,
Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
my name is Lisa. I have two young children, and I initially opened an Etsy shop about 2 years ago to help with daycare costs. And it's kind of slowly progressed from there.
Very fun. Daycare costs are not so fun,
I know.
but part of doing business sometimes. So, tell me, your shop is a digital product shop.
hmm
Were you ever a
Yes.
maker, or did you always just start out with digital products?
I was never a maker. I did start off with print on demand. I think I initially wanted to do digital, fully digital, but I got overwhelmed with doing research and trying to figure out what being a digital seller was because I was trying to do wall art and it just wasn't working out and it wasn't really my thing. And so I found print on demand. I did print on demand for about a year and wasn't seeing a ton of profit from that. It was fun and I really enjoyed it. I learned Canva and I learned a lot of stuff along the way. But I decided to switch back into digital and then I found Gold City Ventures from, I believe it was one of those summits that I attended, I think a couple of, like last May or something. And then I just kind of learned from there. And then that's where I've stuck and I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, fun. Well, welcome. And the last couple podcast episodes, I've been talking to people about the power of doing a summit or a bundle to attract customers. So this is
hmm
proof that it can bring you your perfect customer, and then they could be in a podcast with you someday. So,
There you go.
so glad you're here. In terms of your goals for your shop, so you mentioned you were just starting, the goal was to kind of cover some daycare expenses.
hmm
But now, because you're in our program Beyond, I'm assuming that you have set your sights a little broader in terms of making this, instead of like a side hustle, you want to make it a bigger business. What is that true? And what is the change for that? What's the reason for that change?
I I still think I don't think I'm ready to go like super big, but I started seeing some more success with sales. I wasn't really, I guess, expecting that. And it kind of took me by surprise. And I was like, well, I guess this is going well. What else can I do to maybe have even more sales come in? And when you started Beyond, it just was intriguing. Well, overwhelming a lot of the content for me. Maybe I'm not really super interested in blogging or some of the bigger things. Even opening my own website's a little overwhelming. But I'm kind of it's nice that I can kind of take it slow and kind of go through the course at my own pace and build it slowly and maybe bigger. I don't know how big yet, but I mean, I'm definitely not looking to leave my job right now, but it's definitely something I'm more interested in bringing in a little bit more profit, which would be nice.
Nice.
Maybe going from covering daycare costs to maybe vacation or something like that.
Good goals. So I'm just curious. Sometimes people set the goals, but then they're ready to take on more before they actually hit them. Did you ever hit covering the daycare costs with the printable shop?
There were a couple, not definitely no. There was one week in June that I did really well and I was able to cover like one kid.
Okay.
But maybe like half of a week. But yeah, it's going fine. Like it covers some of those we covered some of the summer costs with field trips and stuff like that. It covered that. But yeah, it just still hasn't brought in enough to cover like a full for two kids, full
Yeah.
cost for a week. Yeah.
And that's tough. I think you need to get a high number of listings for the most part, unless you
Yeah.
find a unicorn product and it
hmm
becomes your thing. So, speaking of unicorn products, now that you're thinking about building a bigger business, have you found your flagship product? What's going to be the product that people say, Lisa, what exactly they think of you for?
I do have a lot of games. I would say I started, I think one of my first products was a bingo game and it did okay. And then I kind of built it from there. I made like other seasonal type games that sold well last year that I'm hoping kind of go better this year now that my shop has even more sales. I guess I don't really know what my flagship product would be. I have a pretty big variety. I don't know if I've really pinned something down yet, or I don't
Games
know if you have a
definitely sell well.
recommendation.
Games definitely sell well. I think it's hard to build like a blog and a off Etsy thing around games unless it was like, oh, we're
Hmm.
every month we send you some new games, like this is the holiday this month and you're gonna get a package of games or whatever. I mean, that could be cool. You could do that. um a game bundle, maybe like a 12-month calendar year game bundle. You could combine it into something like that, see if it sells. But it's hard because I'm not sure if I see the search volume for the game bundle. I feel like what I'm
Hmm.
seeing is it's more just specific holiday by holiday. So I'm just curious, do you identify with any groups like holidays, religious affiliation, hobbies, anything that you're like, oh, you're professional, maybe you're like a realtor, or there's something kind of affiliation that you could lean into either way. Maybe you were a nurse and you want to make all nurse stuff or whatever.
No, no, I wouldn't say I'm like an HR professional. Don't use a lot of templates for what I do specifically. Um, so this is all just stuff that I've just done randomly.
Okay. And in terms of the niche, obviously you have young kids. That could be
Hmm.
why the games appeal to you. But also at Gold City Ventures, we kind of like to push the games and some of those smaller products. It's easier for people to create, to get going, to get their first sales
Yeah.
going.
Hmm.
HR is obviously a lot more specialized. Have you done any research into HR things, or are you like,
I
hey,
have
the idea of
not.
being an HR business just makes me my skin crawl? It's got to be fun. Okay.
I have not. No, I have not yet. That's not something I've looked into at all. Mm-mm.
Okay. And I admittedly I haven't looked into the HR field necessarily, but I do find sometimes with professional backgrounds, people may discover, oh, I had no clue there's influencers for everything, and this person sells their HR small business benefits administration thing. I mean, I know for us, we use Gusto for a lot of our HR type things, and that's a tool that small business owners use and they don't know how to use it. So I always think like, oh, if there was ever somebody that could help you better use this, that would be helpful. But okay, so not necessarily for HR for you. So probably
Mhm.
something in the more consumer kids space would make sense, would fit with your
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah. And I
Have
think one of
you
the first products I posted was like handprint art, just because I was thinking of my kids at the time and I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, I guess these are selling right now. Like, let's give it a try. I think that was one of my first products I ever created.
they're
And
so
that's what really
fun.
did well on Father's Day. That did amazingly well. And that's when I started thinking like, wow, this is crazy. I would have never expected to sell 300 of these things within a couple weeks. It
Yeah.
was kind of
And
just mind blowing.
it's so fun. And the handprint art, I mean, I know from when my kid was coming home from their preschool,
Yeah.
it's the teachers, they make these little projects for you. And I mean, it seems
Hmm.
like it's not just the major holidays, it's any
Yeah.
holiday you're getting a handprint
I
art
have
home.
some on the wall behind me
Yeah, I
from when
see. Perfect.
they were like in like babies.
I know. I have certain rules where I'm like, okay, if it has a picture of them, I don't throw it out. If it
Yeah.
has hands or like feet or something, I don't throw it out. But like if it's like anything else, throw it
Hmm.
out. And you gotta slip it in the trash. Put
Oh
some
yeah.
stuff over it so it's not, so I don't see it. Because my daughter was
Oh
like, "Why are
yes.
you throwing out my art?" I'm like, "You bring home like 7 pieces a day in that folder."
Yep. Yep. That's
It's
happened
so
to us
cute.
for sure.
Yes, I'm so glad they do crafts though, because my daughter's developed a love of crafts. But
Yeah.
anyway, so this we're all having this kind of collective experience. I've talked to other parents. This is happening. So though to me, there's this keyword search way of approaching business, and then there's also like your real life and seeing this. So in both the keyword searches and the real life, we see the handprint thing is
Hmm.
big. Have you explored that of, hey, I could be the handprint person? I mean, it kind of goes with the trivia. It's a little bit younger kids, but that could be a thing too, like an activity bundle every month, activity bundle, preschool activity bundle.
Sure.
I've seen whole shops. There are whole entire Etsy shops where it's only handprint art. There's nothing else but handprint art. And every day the person just thinks like, oh, what could I turn a handprint into? I saw one, it was an Olympic torch, which was really cool recently.
So yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. Have you, or are you like, with the handprint art, are you thinking, I'm done with this? Or are you like, oh, I love it, actually, it's easy
I
to make?
do. I do like it because yeah, it is a little bit quicker. I feel like to make compared to some of the other products that I have that I feel like I could work on for an whole entire week with just like little spurts of 30 minutes here and there. Um, I just haven't, yeah, I guess I haven't really, I think I'm kind of chasing holidays still at this point. Like I've got some down. I just created like Halloween ones like like a month ago, just to kind of get ahead of it because I didn't have those yet. But I don't have anything for like the beginning of the year. Um, but that's definitely something that I could be interested in
Oh yeah,
making more of for sure.
for sure. And I mean, if you what I'll do is I'll like lay out all of the holidays, all of the minor holidays,
Hmm.
and then kind of put the month and then say like, okay, what could I make for each one, XYZ. But then for me with Gold City Ventures, sometimes it's like easy, it makes more sense for me to just come on a podcast and like tell people instead of sitting down at my computer and like doing it myself. But I literally had this idea when I went to a handprint.
Hmm.
I found like a bunch of handprint Etsy shops. I'm like, this is crazy. And sometimes when you do niche down, it makes it easier because for me right now, my swag elephant shop is all over the place. So every day I sit down and it's like, well, what is the best, most optimal thing I could post? Whereas if it's easier, even if it's like not the best idea in the world, if like sometimes to just to be productive, if you're like, oh, I do handprint and craft art, and every single holiday or whatever, you just like churn it out for a period of time and see if it works. I just think eliminating decision fatigue can sometimes help you be a more productive entrepreneur too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like I remember, I don't know if you remember the show Doug Funny, where you wore the same outfit every day. You know?
I just know I've not seen that.
Oh, okay. This is way back, '90s kid. People know what I'm talking about. Patty Mayonnaise was his girlfriend, but he had the same outfit every single day. And I ended up marrying a Doug, but he sometimes he wears the same outfit all the time. But anyways, okay. So handprint art, I'm a huge fan of that. So I think the crafting thing for you, but it kind of sounds like from me. I'll pause. Before we get into this, have you started creating an email list, a blog, anything like that?
I did get it through the part of Beyond with the email list, and I do have some things set up, but I don't have them like active. I think when I created it because I was going through the course and going through the motion, and I was like kind of put the pause and was like, okay, so what if I start getting people on my list? What do I do? And I didn't have a plan, and so nothing's live yet, but I do have um, those automations set up. I just haven't figured out quite the best way to approach and engage the customers. And I've heard of a lot of different ways to do it. I just haven't. I don't have a big social media yet. I don't. And then so I was gonna probably put it into like my listings, like putting the link in there. I know Sasha had said she has done that for her products. So that was kind of where I maybe was gonna start. But kind of again, I don't have like a plan. So if I get people signing up, what do I do next?
Yes, and see, that's I'm so glad that we set up the courses at Gold Study Ventures that way because we want you to like do stuff. So I'm glad you did it. It's there. But obviously, let's say you're
Mm-hmm.
picking like an HR product that eventually, if you switch to that and then you collect a bunch of like mom email addresses,
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with each other, just wasted time, like you lost. So it sounds
Yeah.
like for you, the priority really needs to be figuring out what niche you want to be in the flagship
Mm-hmm.
product. So before
Yeah.
we kind of flesh that out more, how do you feel about being an influencer? Like, are you like, no, I literally, this sounds awful to me, or you would do it?
I probably the first one. It's not
Okay.
social media is not like a huge part of like our lives. Don't use it a whole ton. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I feel weird because I'm young, but most of the time I just despise using social media for some reason, and I just haven't really figured out quite how to create engaging posts. I guess I've been using Pinterest the most right now, but not in the other platforms.
Are you getting any hits on Pinterest?
Yeah, I get a decent amount of engagement, but not a ton. But I do. I think I checked yesterday, and I had maybe 20 people come from Pinterest, um, from like the visit section.
Per
So
day?
not a ton. I'd say at least, yeah, like maybe anywhere between 10 to 20 a
Okay.
day.
Hey, that's positive signals. So that is a good
Hmm.
social media account or good plan. Are these videos or static pins?
A lot of them are static. I've been slowly adding more video ones. So I've done maybe like probably less than 10 at this point. Like I'm just slowly um, updating them
Mm.
and trying to get better images and better pins out there, because they were just the ones I was sharing from Etsy. I was just doing it quick. And um, by creating my own, you obviously have the bigger ones. And then I'm trying to add a little bit of a basic video to it just to make it pop.
Okay. Yeah, I'm asking that because I'm just kind of curious as we collect all this data from people about what's working on Pinterest. Pinterest for a
Hmm.
while people were like not into it, but now it's back better than
Hmm.
ever. I'm seeing a lot of traffic kind of coming through from Pinterest now, my various businesses. And again, the real life discussion, people in real life are talking about it. So I
Hmm.
volunteered to be assistant troop leader for the Girl Scouts, and my friend who's a troop leader is a teacher, and a fellow teacher and her shared a Pinterest board of like whatever the other woman had pinned for the Girl Scouts. And so now we have like a starter Girl Scout Pinterest board already done for us. But it just, to me, with your niche, like teachers like handprint art and trivia and
Hmm.
stuff, and teachers like Pinterest, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I'm seeing. So that makes sense in terms of social to get on. And you can post the videos and you can also do the static pins there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are like, oh, I want to be on TikTok, which that is really big for crafting, like the handprint craft art probably makes sense there too. Um, you probably can't do like the stat. I mean, they have the carousel concept on TikTok too, but you need to record more video. So how have you done any
Hmm.
video, like video of you with your filming over your hands, just like either your kids' hands doing handprint art or anything? Like, have you tried that yet?
I did try it for the Halloween ones, and I had my daughter do the handprint. I think it went okay. It was my first time
Yeah.
trying to film it, so I wouldn't say it's great, but it worked, and I that was one of the first video pins I think I posted.
And
I
did
think
she
I
think
added it to the Etsy listing as well. I
did
think.
she think it was fun or no? Did she hate it?
I'm pretty sure she didn't want to be doing
Yeah.
be doing it. Like I think she thought it was fun for about a second, but
I know. I feel like
more
this
because I
is
was filming her. She probably was like, "What are you doing?"
I feel like this is the new dance moms. Like, the influencer moms who are like, okay, we got to do 5 more, honey. We got all like, got to
Hmm.
get to the end of the year with the holidays. But the reality is, you need little hands. So
Yeah, I know
you can't be
exactly.
doing yours. People are like, oh, that doesn't look quite right.
Yeah, I
But
think my husband more thought like, "What are you doing to our
yeah,
kids?"
exactly. Exactly. Um, but I do think for someone, so just hearing what you said, you don't want to be an influencer.
Hmm.
You don't want it necessarily to be like Lisa's going to teach me about X. It's more
Correct.
like Lisa has these products and oh, she's a great curator of like activities for kids. So if someone were thinking of your brand, it's like this is fun for families, like fun activities for families. Or are you more like, do you know any teachers? Do you have friends or teachers? You're like, no, I want to be like the teacher guide of like, hey, teachers, I got 12 months of calendar ideas for you. I got everything you need here to make your classroom fun. Or are you like, I have nothing to do with teachers, not interested in that?
Probably more, yeah, probably more the first
Moms.
one. Probably more, yeah, the parent space. I definitely like have, yeah, the products can kind of go both ways. I feel like a lot of like daycare teachers, or I think I had someone put a comment saying it was like a Sunday school or something like that. They used some of the products as well, and I think so it could kind of go both ways. But I think the parent is more of the focus.
Okay. Because I'm bringing this up because as you're trying to attract the audience, you really have to think of who the audience is. And if the parent is the focus, then what type of parent? Like both of us just described our kids doing this at school, who the purchaser would be the teacher. We're not buying. I have bought this type of product mostly because of Gold City Ventures, where I'm like, oh, I know if I have to entertain my kids, or we have some family events. We have like every year a cookie bake off that we do around Thanksgiving, and my cousin's kids
Hmm.
and all of us get together. And I'm usually the one who's responsible for like entertaining the kids while the cookies bake before they can frost them. So I usually bring printables and packets and things like that. But for the most part, I'm not making these purchases because I'm a working parent and my kids are doing these activities with other people. So, who are the parents that are actually buying? And I'm just guessing, unless you've done the research, it's a lot of homeschool mom, stay at home mom. It's just a different it's a different category of mom. So your content and who you're kind of speaking to should reach out to that category of mom. Now, maybe someone's like, hey, I'm working parent and I use these at night or whatever. But typically I think it's more of like in the day activities that these are happening. So when I'm saying that, like, how does that feel to you?
Now that you're saying it, I'm like, maybe it makes more sense to go the teacher focus, at
Yeah.
least based on what we've already talked about. See, sometimes I don't like think of that, and that's why it's helpful
Yeah. And I
to
mean,
have
it could,
someone kind of point that out to me, where I'm like thinking parent, but really should be focusing elsewhere.
unless it's like because I follow, who is that mom, like the busy toddler mom, do you know that woman? Her kids are older now,
I
but
don't know.
she'll do like, she had this idea that you let your kids paint a pumpkin and then give them a bathtub and let them like dunk it and then repaint it again, and it was genius. Once my daughter got old enough to not spill the water everywhere, I was like, this is amazing, what a genius idea. But anyways, I am following her, but I'm not like purchasing her products, or it's just more like ideas. She might, maybe, I don't know how she makes money. Maybe she has courses, maybe she has different things she recommends, Christmas gifts. I have no idea. But I just wanted to bring that up. Or it could be, so that if you had a religious affiliation, like someone listening is probably like, oh, like, you know, when you mentioned the daycare, Sunday school, we've had people on who are like, Christian, this is what they do. Makes total sense. Lean into this, try to collect other Christian moms that would be getting this stuff for whatever they're doing. Or homeschool. If anyone's homeschooling, obviously these moms are looking for that type of material because they're the ones that are leading the activity. But for the rest of us, it's probably the teacher. I do have a nanny for my youngest, but she doesn't print off activities. I guess I could ask her to do that, but it's, you know, it's not something that she typically does. It's like the teacher who thinks about it for the classroom of kids. So yeah, so maybe with the teacher stuff, do you have any friends who are teachers?
One.
Okay, if you're going to lean into this, you probably should talk to them, because I had one of my teacher friends over for a play date, and the teachers are picky about what this thing looks like. Like us as printable creators, we don't necessarily care, but there's certain fonts that they're looking for. There's certain like ways, like there's an aesthetic of like, oh, this isn't cute, this is cute. Like they're very picky about what cute is, and often it's not what we think is cute. It's like, oh, okay, that is a certain way that they kind of expect it to look because that's what things look like in their world. So just might be something worth considering. And then, you know, making sure this isn't something that they're getting for free elsewhere. And you know, one alternative though, I do want to one thing before we discount the mom thing. There is the gifting handprint art thing, which is big for holidays. So for all the gifting occasions, people will gift like grandma a Mother's Day thing. And I don't know if you've realized, I think it sounds like Father's Day, you've realized that that's
I
a
did.
gift.
Yeah, I do have Father's Day grandparents.
Yes.
And yeah, so those ones, those are the two I started with.
Yeah. So obviously
that's what I was thinking, because that's what I was thinking too. Like when our kids were little, that's a lot of times they were gifting those products from school or something like that, or I would have them color something for like my mom or something like that. And I've done stuff with them. So that's the first thing that I thought of when I created those first two, and then just duplicated them from there. Maybe less of a gifting ones, but
so I guess it depends. Like the gifting ones are mom's probably buying them for other people, but then like a mom wouldn't maybe do the Halloween one. She might, but maybe not. So it's, you know, it's always something you can test. And this is something that now that you have the email list set up, you could segment the list of like, hey, here's the teacher segment and here is the other. You could always just do that. I mean, it might be a little complicated starting out with that, but it would be good to know like who's a teacher, who's not, if you could. But yeah, just things to kind of think about. Now, did you do any competitor research? I know at the beginning of Beyond, we have the competitor research that everyone hates doing, but like, it's my favorite.
That was really hard.
Yeah, everyone hates it. They're like, this is the worst. But I'm telling you, like when I prep for all the podcasts, I click through what Google Docs you guys submitted because I need to see them, because that helps me. Like I always do competitor research. I mean, why recreate the wheel if you know someone's already making money at something, right? But yeah, everyone hates it. So we're gonna change the way to try to make it more fun, I guess. But what did you see when you did that?
So I know when Sasha gave me my feedback, I don't know if I did it quite right, but the people that I found and focused on were more, they had products in like the celebration area, but more high end. And so I was focusing more on the type of printable instead of like the event. And so I haven't gone back to like redo it, but she did give me like one or two places to look, um, to kind of do some comparison and competitive research.
So you guys were talking about, so we're talking about like games and crafts activities, but then the celebration
Mm-hmm.
area is kind of a little bit different, but also interesting. Does that interest you? Like, for example, celebration. This morning I found Berry First Birthday is trending, and it's so cute. It's like for like a little baby girl, and there are
Mm-hmm.
all these like cute little personalized stuff where you put a little strawberry hat on her head and the printables and things. Very cute, but different, a different thing. Like, does that interest you, doing that or no?
I possibly, but I think more like I guess maybe it's not celebration that I would compare my shop to, because I feel like when I'm thinking of like games for Thanksgiving, games for Christmas, like celebrations, gift exchange games for Christmas, stuff like that. So when I'm thinking celebration, I'm thinking like family getting together for an occasion, and how can they use a product to entertain their guests, or something that they're doing around the table while they're eating, stuff like that. I guess that's more of what I'm thinking, instead of birthday parties or baby showers, maybe baby showers eventually, not weddings, stuff like that. More of those like family get togethers.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I think for myself, while like for example, today I did some keyword research for fun, found the very first birthday in my head. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like I could totally make all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Blah, blah. For some people and people in our group, that's perfect for them. They had their first collection created, and then they're just like churning out the different versions of it for whatever the popular
Mm-hmm.
trend is. But I don't have my first version created yet, so I'm like going from 0 to 1. Whereas it just feels easier, like to like rip out 100 handprint art crafts. It's probably going to get a little more competitive. I know there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people doing it, so maybe it's a little bit competitive. But I don't see many people who are bringing it as a bigger business with like the social, and who are really crushing it in that space. There are a few people. So if you could, the thing is though, like you will need your daughter to like be the model, and you are gonna dance mom. You have to be like, okay, because I'm thinking for myself. This was on my list of like, okay, I found this woman's shop. I'm like, she's got tons of sales. It's all handcraft art, but in order to make this like truly viable, you would have to batch film and be like, hey, we're gonna do 10 in a row. We'll go to
Okay.
ice cream after. I don't know, something like that. Like I'm just thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
realistically, and you'd have to experiment with different ways to make the social content exciting. So when
Mm-hmm.
I wanted you guys to do the competitive research, I obviously you want to find people that are like businesses, but sometimes it can be hard to tell like who's a business, who's not, because the good content that isn't overly salesy. But I would think you need to go back to what the person is searching. You said you want to help people have more fun and think of things to do at these family events. So, what are they searching into the search platforms? And obviously, like Pinterest is a great one to
Mm-hmm.
think of. But also, TikTok and Insta are just good video platforms where you can see, okay, Halloween craft idea for preschool craft idea, or Christmas trivia game for kids, and then when people are looking at the search results, they're going to want to see the game played, because mentally, if you're scrolling at the end of the night and, like right
Mm-hmm.
now, everyone's looking, it's like Olympics, Simone Biles is doing 100 flips in the air. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing a craft. If it's just a piece of paper, you don't,
Yeah.
you have 1 second to figure out what it is and be interested in it. Whereas if it's like most entertaining Halloween game this year, the kids were laughing, and then you see like a bunch of kids doing a handprint ghost app. Obviously, personally, I would not show my kids' faces now with AI.
Mm-hmm.
No shade
Yeah.
to anyone who does do that, but to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's too freaky.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
hands film from above, where you can try to make it fun, put cute sound. I feel like that could be a thing. But that being said,
Okay.
content is one thing. Other ways that you
Yeah.
could do it, we talked about summits and bundles and stuff in previous podcast episodes. I'm not going to go into there, but I just want to mention, if you or someone listening has zero interest in filming content because it's just too much, then
Mm-hmm.
you could find other ways to drive traffic through leveraging the audiences of other people who want to put out content, and just send emails. Okay, so that's my soapbox here. We're trying to figure out your flagship product. I feel like we got somewhat of a plan, but you'll have to think about it, because obviously, you know, you might do some research after and find out like, oh, there's a competitor who has like a trivia game in a box, and every month you get a new trivia game, and you could try to do like a print on demand thing where you're like printing them and shipping them or whatever, there's a lot of different ways you can look into it if you find competitors doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. So do you have any questions for me?
One thing I was thinking, because what came out of um, the first like brand audit was Sasha thought my like brand colors were too like dark compared to certain competitors. Like it wasn't as modern or bright. And I was trying to decide before it was too late to like possibly like update that. I don't know if you had any suggestions based on like my listing images or anything, if you would recommend possibly changing it up or making something a little bit more modern.
So I would say, who are we targeting again? Because, like I said, with the teachers, they're very, very picky. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I see, the fonts they like are like childish, because it's for kids, but like thicker kind of.
Sure.
I don't want to say Cosmic Sands because they're like thicker font. It's just a way that they are. They look like that, and then the colors are like pastel unicorn, like Care Bears kind of colors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, oh, I'm going after teachers, and then you're doing a more sophisticated, darker palette
Yeah.
that an adult might like, it's not going to scream what they're looking for. Because people, where if you think about, like, I always say this a lot on the podcast, but like culture and art constantly are imitating each other, and where are people getting the idea of what they want to buy? Well, they saw it somewhere. They saw it on Pinterest. They saw it in person. They saw it on social media. So if no one's seeing dark and the rest of them just all look like this, there's a reason. Like people, they're not, unless yours is like gorgeous and just very amazing on its own. People aren't going to look and be like, oh, that's exactly what I had in my mind. They're going to be like, oh, that's not exactly what I thought. So I kind of agree with Sasha there that if you're going to go for the teachers, brighter's better.
Mm-hmm.
Even for like the parents, I feel like, if we're talking like 4-year-olds, I guess, how old are you? Said your kids are young, right? Like what are your kids into? Like what are they into right now? Like my daughter loves unicorns. Like unicorns is like super bright colors, rainbow. She loves rainbow.
Mm-hmm. Dinosaurs, always my son, but he's like a learning machine right now. He's 6 and he just learned all the states. So like
Mm-hmm.
he really likes taking, he likes puzzles. I don't know, my daughter has like one specific thing she's into. I feel like she likes to copy him on
Mm-hmm.
what he's into. But she likes puzzles and she likes reading. Um, but not like super into like a specific thing like unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
I would say she likes the color pink a lot, but other than that, she's usually doing what Bluey, I think, is like huge right now with them.
Right. Yeah.
But
Who doesn't love Bluey?
so that's big, I think, with both of them. I'd say.
Okay. Yeah. So I bring this up because the aesthetic that your kids are into may be what makes sense for yours. So
Sure.
if you would describe for people that are listening, if you describe what your current brand colors are, what are they?
So it's like a red, it's not like red. It's like a dark, deep red. And then like a sandy color, and then like a light pink, and like I don't even know what color it is. It's like a brown and a brownish pink color, I guess.
Okay. So
They look
something,
nice together, but I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, do I need to like have something more fun to go off of? Like most of my products are more games and crafts type products. I think it looks nice, but at the same time, it's like if I'm going to expand, I should probably think about this now before I have too many products to try to update everything.
yeah. And I mean, I think it does sound like maybe something a little younger, like I mean younger, like
Yeah.
kids makes sense because that color palette, it is somewhat popular right now. Like the groovy retro vintage thing is big. Western, you'll kind of see this certain aesthetics where people are looking, particularly orange and pink combined together. Maybe like some of the darker, like mauve kind of red brown. You'll see that for sure. But typically that's aimed towards like teenagers, college kids, who want it on their sweatshirts, their cool people outfits. The kids stuff and the teachers, they still seem to be into the rainbow. Although I have seen a lot more this year. I was looking at Halloween stuff recently, and I saw a lot more of like the groovy retro stuff showing up in the Halloween. And of course, with Barbie last year being super popular,
Mm-hmm.
like that palette has moved over. But it's
Yep.
it's a pinkier pink, for sure. So I don't know, something I would kind of do that. And to be honest, you're building a bigger brand, so it makes sense to have brand colors. But for anyone listening that has not done this yet, I don't think it makes tons of sense to like commit to brand colors if you don't even know if your products sell. So like what
Mm-hmm.
I like to do is just keep everything a neutral palette and focus on the actual product until you develop a thing. Because just no, a lot of people don't shop by going to your shop and then seeing it all be uniform. They look at individual listings that show up in search results. So I wouldn't overcommit to colors and then kind of shoot yourself in
Okay.
the foot. Particularly,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming you've typed your products back into the Etsy search engine and saw what aesthetic do all the other listings have that appear, to make sure like, okay, none of them are dark. They're all like crazy bright colors and the Care Bear style, like I mentioned, the
Mm-hmm.
unicorn rainbow craziness. That would help if you haven't done that yet, just to see like
Sure.
what
Yeah.
wins.
Okay. Oh yeah, I should probably do that again. But yeah, typically what I see is like more lighter, brighter type aesthetic.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we'll do one more question. I know I say like this is a 30-minute episode, and then every single time I like go way over. I'm so sorry. I love this stuff though; it's fun to me. So, any other questions?
That was my big one. I guess like I just opened my teachers shop. Do you have any suggestions on maybe what I haven't posted like my first product yet. That was going to be my goal this week. Do you have any recommendations on should I do a handprint freebie or focus on that first? Because that's kind of the focus of our talk was mostly. I guess what suggestions would you have?
Okay, so I'm so glad to hear that you opened a TPT shop, and we have had so many people have success early with TPT with like crossover without changing their products that much. But what I would say is you need to talk to your teacher friend and take her out for coffee or call her and be like, hey, I don't know what, obviously, if she teaches young kids, if she teaches 11th graders, maybe not. But if it's young kids, and if it's not your teacher friend, try to find somebody that or two people that are teachers and be like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you use this? Tell me what you've bought last year. What did you buy last year? What are you currently buying? Because you need to talk to a customer. It's like different than the Etsy customer. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you'll hear the things like my friend she's not an online business owner, being so honest with me, like, oh, that's not cute. That's cute. That's not cute. Here's how I use it. Also, I was shocked to find that teachers follow teacher influencers, and they're like other teachers. They're like, oh, I like her stuff, or I like her stuff. And it's like this second grade teacher. And then typically at a certain point, the people are no longer teachers because they're just teacher influencers, but they have like YouTube channels about their classroom and all this stuff. So obviously you don't need to be a teacher influencer, but looking at a popular teacher influencer and the style of the products that person is putting out is very helpful as you start a TPT journey. And I know my friend, she sent me like 3 teachers that she really liked and she followed. I think she's like a 4th grade teacher, my friend, in her classroom. So that gave me a good sense of what people like to see from teachers for TPT. So, for
Okay.
you, like, you don't want to get overwhelmed with all this stuff, but I would say a little bit of research goes a long way, and just having like a quick customer conversation would be helpful. And then you'll be able to say like, oh, and then show her what you have and be like, oh, I have this. Like, if this is your good friend, be like, what, honestly, tell me, is this going to work on TPT? And she'll probably be like, well, it's, a little off or whatever, or no, it's perfect, or stuff like that. And again, don't be afraid of market saturation, because people say that about everything, and trends
Mm-hmm.
don't die. There's a million different things. I thought Uggs would go out of style when I was in college, putting them on my feet, and these people still wear them in 2024. So
Mm-hmm.
some trends don't die, and there's enough room for people to sell things for years.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this has been a really fun podcast. I hope that this helps some people. And thank you, Lisa, for being here today. Really appreciate you sharing your story.
You're welcome.
If people want to get in touch with you for any reason, maybe there's a teacher who wants to volunteer for like some maybe she doesn't sell on Etsy yet, and you can give her some tips and you guys can trade ideas, or who knows, how would people
That'd be
reach out
great.
to you?
So like my Etsy shop, is that?
Or like you don't want to, you know what, you never want to say Etsy because then they'll message you on Etsy, and if you don't answer them
Oh.
within 24 hours, then you're going to be dinged. Because this happens to me all the time, because I tell everyone, oh, my shop's the Swag Elephant, and then I get these messages like, hey, about the course. I'm like, please don't. And then I'm like trying to look at my customer service queues, and it's so, yeah, never message somebody on Etsy, please. Like we got to answer you within 24 hours or we get dinged. So I'm going to suggest not doing that on a podcast that
Okay.
has thousands of listeners. But what maybe like do you have an IG? Do you have an Instagram, a public Instagram they could follow, or like something like that?
I do. Yeah. So my shop is Midwest Printable Co at the end, because I think Midwest Printable was taken at the time. And so I'm pretty sure that's my handle as well. See, it's funny because I don't use social media much. I don't even know. But Midwest Printable Co. Or Midwest Printable Co at gmail.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so maybe there's some collaborations will come out of this. Who knows?
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you being on, and having a great day. Bye.
Thanks. You too. Bye.